like Sacred Heart has recovered, and that is it. The Pioneers are the NEC champions.
My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the head coach of the Sacred Heart University Pioneers football program, the head coach himself, Coach Nofri. Coach, thanks so much for being able to come on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
You know, first and foremost, before we get into everything, and I know I have you for about 25 plus minutes or so, how was everything with you and your family during the COVID-19 pandemic?
You know, we're all good. It's been a struggle, a little bit different, not playing this past fall and being around the house more than I anticipated. But everybody's good. Like I said, I had it back in January. My wife got it after I did. But other than that, it's just her and I that ended up being positive. Nothing but a bad cold. We didn't have to go to the emergency room or didn't have trouble breathing. You know, it was just like having a bad cold and a cough. It lingered for about 3 or 4 weeks. And, you know, after that, we were fine.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't even know that you had it, you and your wife, but I'm glad you guys are okay. I mean, I know people who have had it, and it's strange because you hear some people who get it and feel a lot worse. And then like yourself, it was just like a cold.
Yeah, it's strange because there's, you know, some of the kids on my team were like, well, I tested positive, but I have no symptoms, like not even a cold, nothing. And I think one of the worst things the symptoms they had, you couldn't taste or smell. I couldn't taste or smell for almost a month.
Oh, really? So that must have been like, so your favorite ice cream or anything.
Yeah,
you
forget it. You're not tasting anything.
Jeez, but hey, I'm glad you guys are okay and wish you nothing but the best of health the rest of the way, man.
Thank you.
Now, I want to talk about yourself before we get into the program. Now, I know you've been with Sacred Heart now for a number of years, but just kind of give me a little bit of a synopsis of your career as far as a coach.
So this was my 28th year at the university. Like I said, I've been here 28 years, and 1 year prior to that, I was a receivers coach at Hamilton College, my first year out of college. And after I left Hamilton, I came to Sacred Heart as a grad assistant, coaching the defensive backs. And from there, I've stayed, and I've coached defensive backs for 6 years. I did the linebackers for, I want to say, 12 years. I've done special teams here. I was the associate head coach at one point with defensive coordinator. And then I kind of, filled the spot as the head coach 8 years ago. So I'm just completing my 8th season as the head coach.
Would you say that being at Hamilton, because then being a part of the NESCAC and kind of being like the little Ivy League school, like that, you know, what they're called, do you think being a part of that kind of helped you as far as making your way through the coaching path?
A little bit. It was definitely different. Obviously the NESCAC, you're dealing with some of the best schools in the country and some of the brightest students, future doctors, lawyers, politicians. But again, they only play 8 games. There was no postseason, championship, and there was no, going to the playoffs or anything like that. So it was definitely a different scenario and different situation. But it was fun to be a part of it and to see the type of school and the type of student athlete that they bring in and, how they do things different. And when I came to Sacred Heart, we had just gone Division II from the Division III level. And then in 99, I believe, or 2000, we have actually switched over to go Division I. So, I had worked at the Division III level. We came to Sacred Heart. We were D2. And then I think our first year at Division I was 99 here at Sacred Heart. So I've been at the 3 different levels prior. Like I said, I've experienced some form of competition in a student athlete at all 3 levels.
Since you've seen all 3 levels as far as kind of looking for talent, is there any blaring, where there's a difference between a Division I, Division III? Is it height, weight, speed? Is there anything that kind of jumps out?
I think the majority of it is the height, weight, and speed. I mean, you're looking at it. It means nothing in terms of, I think it's as important to a Division III student athlete as it is to a Division I student athlete, but there is a difference in size, speed. The pace of the game is a little bit quicker. But that separates the two, I think, is the size and speed. As far as the heart and loving the game of football, I think you'll find some Division III kids probably like it a little bit more, cherish it a little bit better because they're playing the game and you're not getting scholarship money for it. Where Division I kids, most of them are on scholarships, some are walk-ons, but there's no difference in terms of the love for the game. It's more the physical attributes.
Now, looking at your grad assistant years and such, who or what was the biggest, I guess, influence on you early on in your coaching career?
I would have to say, going back, I took a little bit of everything from each coach I've been involved with. I was pretty close to my high school coach, Tom Shane, who had been a successful high school football coach in upstate New York for probably 40 years. I learned a little bit something from Coach Steve Frank at Hamilton College, who was the head coach. I was pretty close with Mike Davis, the offensive coordinator at Hamilton, who taught me a lot. When I came to Sacred Heart, Gary Rio was the coach at the time, and I had worked for him for about 7 years. And then he stepped down, and I worked for Tom Radulski. And then I worked after him. I worked for Jim Fleming, Bill Lacey, and Paul Gorham. So I think I took a little bit about the game, either on the field, off the field, recruiting, how to deal with student athletes, a little bit from each person. X's and O's wise, I think I learned the most from probably Jim Fleming, who was here from 2000 to 2002. And probably the recruiting aspect from Tom Radulski and Paul Gorham. They did a phenomenal job recruiting and the ins and outs and how you go about recruiting and trying to get an edge in that piece of it. I took something from Gary Rio in terms of how to build a program. He started the program here. I think it was 91 or 90. He began from scratch. And I saw what he went through and some of the, ups and downs of trying to get a program off the ground when it wasn't established and starting brand new. So like I said, I've took something a little bit from everybody and kind of figured out my path. And, I also learned though that you don't want to copy a coach. You want to be yourself, but you can take different ways of doing things and different philosophies and different opinions from the coaches that you've learned from, and kind of find out where you're, what you believe in and how you want to portray yourself and how you want to portray your program and how you build it.
It sounds like to me, Coach, that it almost seems like, not saying that you weren't ready to become a head coach as a grad assistant or such, but almost like you needed to kind of go through the, paying your dues, I guess, to make sure that you made sure that you did the right things the proper way, but also too, and for all the names that you threw out there, they're all great names. It seems like each one kind of left something for you to be able to learn as you went forward in your coaching career.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a time and a place. I probably could have been a head coach a little bit earlier, right after the 2003 season. And I didn't feel personally that I was ready yet. And I don't know if you're ever ready, at some point, everybody's going to be a first timer at that position. But I'm glad I was able to work with those guys and be an assistant for 20 years before I became a head coach. I felt like it prepared me a little bit better. Sometimes you're thrown into the fire and it's sink or swim, and, you do everything you can to make sure you swim, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I kind of knew in my heart after 2002, I wasn't ready to be a head coach yet when I was approached. So I declined at that point, and I'm glad I did. I was able to learn a little bit more from two more coaches. And like I said, when the opportunity arose in 2012, I felt like I was ready, but it's definitely different. I thought it would be an easy transition. Hey, I'm at Sacred Heart. I've been here a long time. This is going to be easy. I'm just sliding in from the assistant chair to the head coach's chair. And it's totally different, and something you can't explain until you actually go through it.
So now, since you've been through it, explain to the people who may not know, what was the difference as far as from where you were before and then becoming the head coach? What was the difference or differences?
The difference now, I mean, I think you're wearing many hats. I mean, you got your finger on everything, and you have a lot of people that work with you, that work under you, that you have to work with. I mean, you're talking about a coaching staff of around 11 to 12 assistants. Then you throw in four film people, or 4 filmers that work with you in that part of it, 6 or 7 trainers, 2 equipment managers, a strength coach, his assistant. Then you're talking with the sports information department, the administration upstairs. You're working with financial aid. You're the direct report for them. You work with admissions. It's just, the dean of students, if there's issues on campus that, involve some of your players. So to me, I think it's not so much coaching, it's more managing. You're managing people, and you're imagining players. Like, there's 130 kids on the team when we started in August. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of kids, from different backgrounds, different personalities, different philosophies, that you're all trying to get on the same page. And then you throw in all your support staff and the coaches and in different departments here on campus that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Like, it's a lot. And we talk about it all the time. It's easy to sit here and say, well, just do this or do that until you're actually sitting in that power position. And sometimes people aren't comfortable making those tough calls. Some people aren't comfortable having tough conversations with people, but if you're going to be the leader of a program or a company or a business and you're the top guy, you're going to have those conversations. You're going to have those moments. And they're not something you look forward to, but it's part of the job. And you have to learn that if you're going to be at the top, you're the one that has to make those decisions and have those conversations, and you better be prepared for them when they do come.
I've read many articles where I've had people say either to me or like the articles I alluded to where coaches have to wear many hats, they have many faces. And I think, do you think that kind of took time as well? Because like you mentioned, there's so many things beyond just the on-field stuff. It's almost like the off-field stuff is of the utmost importance, if not even more, to make sure the on-field is going smoothly.
I agree. The off the field stuff and the people that you're meeting with, it was a little bit easier for me because I'd already been here for so long as an assistant. So if there was an issue, I knew who to turn to, or if I had a question, I knew who to go to. I think if it was a brand new university, I was just stepping foot on campus. That takes a while to build those relationships and find out, who's going to help you and who do you go to. But because I had been here for so long, I knew who to go to, and everybody kind of knew me as a longtime assistant. So it was easy navigating through those things. Like I said, know who to go to. But yes, the many hats and the many faces are being worn. And if you don't know people or they don't know you or what you're about or the type of individual that you are, sometimes you might not get the help that you need. Sometimes people will be a little bit more standoffish until they figure out who you are. And I think that was one of the positives I had, is that everybody knew me and knew who I was, being assistant and the type of person that I am. So I got a lot of help right out of the gate, which was great.
Before you became a head coach, I know a lot of recruits, and I'm sure many would speak even now after they played, said that they respected you of the utmost. And I'm sure, your first couple years, how was it as far as on the recruitment side? Because it's different being as you were before head coach on certain levels. Now you're the head coach, and now you're seeing everything. You're looking for all different kinds of players.
I also, when I was an assistant, was a recruiting coordinator too. So I had my hand in, what type of individual we were going to bring in, what type of student athlete. But again, it came down to the head coach at the time and what he liked and what he wanted. Mm-hmm. My philosophy changed a little bit from the last guy. I worked for Paul Gorman, succeeded him. I'm big in, I think if you're good up front, if you're good on the offensive line and you're good on the defensive line, and you have an above average quarterback, you got a very good chance of winning. And I've always thought that you build the team from the inside out. And to me, I want to be able to run the ball on offense and keep my quarterback off the ground. And defensively, you want to be able to stop the run and you want to be able to get after the quarterback. And if you can do those things on the offense and defensive line and you're stout there, your success of being over 500 that year is pretty good. Now you throw in a pretty good quarterback, a receiver, a linebacker here or there, and you start building that way. Now you can talk about becoming pretty, successful and winning championships. And we've kind of done it that way. I've had some really good quarterbacks in my time here. RJ Noel was the first quarterback I had, was a 4-year starter for us, 3-time all-conference. Kevin Duke was a 2-year starter, waited his turn behind RJ, won an NEC championship. RJ won 2. Kevin Duke won in only 2 years start, and he won in 2018. Logan Marchi was a grad transfer, a Connecticut kid that came in and played for us last year. We were on our way. I think we were tied for first at one point, and then he had broke his foot and missed the last 3 games of the year. Again, we ended up 7-4, pretty successful as well. And then this year we have Marquez McCray, who's a redshirt sophomore. He took over for Logan last year when he broke his foot. So he got 3 games in last year, and this year he's been our starter, and he's done a great job. I mean, he's above average by far, and I see nothing but better and bigger things for that kid if he continues to grow and improve. So, with a good quarterback and a good offense and defensive line, I think that's the way I would start my recruiting process and then kind of go from there.
Coach, when I go to like Naugatuck practices during the fall before COVID or other teams in the NVL, because I broadcast within the NVL, the first thing before I even go into the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, I look at the offensive line, I look at the defensive line, because I've always believed, you could have a good quarterback, but if you can't protect him and you can't go after the opposing team's quarterback, you're doomed to not be able to have success for a long time, because if your quarterback's on his back more than he is throwing the football, you can't win that way.
No, I agree, you know, and that's one of the things that we talked about, being able to run the ball and keep your quarterback off the ground, and being able to get after the quarterback on defense and stop the run. And if you can do those things, I think you got a great shot at being over 500. The other thing that we put a lot of emphasis on here, at least I do as the head coach, is special teams. I think that's a huge edge that you can gain. And if you're really good and you're sound on special teams, that can put you over the top in a lot of games. We spend a lot of time in practice each day of the week on special teams. I know some coaches don't, they just touch on it or they cover it and then they move on. But I know we spend a lot of time on the special teams aspect as well. I'm not afraid to put starters on it. And, you know, and I tell my players, you're not just going to be put on a special team because you're a good kid and you do things right. You got to be able to produce for us. And you got to earn that right to be on the special team, because we take it as important. I think it's as important as offense and defense.
I think it helps too that you have Noah Getman, who is basically like a human cheat code. I mean, I read an article yesterday as I was preparing for this, and I didn't know this. Punted the ball 82 yards. Is that true?
Yeah, that was huge. It was the first drive of the game, and they won the coin toss, so they ended up deferring, so they kicked to us. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we only got it out to like the 17 or 18 yard line. We didn't, you know, we kind of made a mistake on the kickoff return. And we went 3 and out, and it was 4th down from like our own 17 or 18 yard line, backed up a little bit and into the win. And Noah, I said, well, he's kicking from our end zone. We're going to be on a short field the first drive. He caught it just right, and he kicked it over the returner's head, and it landed at like the minus 35 or the minus 40, and then continued to roll with the spin that he had on it. And it turned out to be an 82-yard kick, and it totally flipped the field. And, you know, instead of being 1st and 10 inside the 50, they're 1st and 10 from like the 9-yard line coming out. So, and that was the first series of the game. So Noah's been really good. He was voted first team all conference punter for us this year. He has recently taken over the field goal, extra point duties as well. And he does our kickoffs as well.
You know, special teams is not the most sexiest, I think, thing that people want to talk about. They want to talk about getting after the quarterback or throwing touchdowns. But I've always felt like special teams, if you have a good special teams group, especially like the punter, you can be in games for a long time. And I think, you know, maybe not during the regular season because it's not talked about, but we've seen in the playoffs, the Super Bowl championship games, if you can control where the field is and you can control where the opposing team is going to be, force them to have to go the full length of the field on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talk about that. And, you know, one of the biggest things that, you know, I don't know if it drives me nuts as a head coach, but when the ball is punted and we're on the receiving end of the punt, I want my punt returner to catch it wherever it is. And I understand you're not going to return every kick, and I'm not looking for you to return every kick. But it drives me nuts when I see him run up on it, wait for a fair catch, and then they step out of the way and it bounces and they lose, 15 more yards. And I tell them, I'm like, that's another first down or 2 first downs that the offense has to make. Let's continue to catch the ball when it's in the air. Don't let it hit the ground. And whether you have a good return or the ability to return it, great. If not, fair catch it. Because sometimes it takes those bounces and it just puts your offense in a deeper hole and makes them go farther. And I agree 100%. I'm a big fan of playing the field game position in every game that we play. I don't just sit here and say, well, this game we're going to do the field position. We're going to kick on 4th down or wherever we are. That's my philosophy going forward. Every game I'm in, I'm going to try and flip the field and try and put us in the best situation I can. Again, weather would play into it and wind. But if you're good on special teams and you got that weapon of a good punter or a good field goal kicker, it can make a huge difference in a game, especially if you're playing an opponent that's a little bit better than you. It can keep you into the game, and hopefully you can keep it close and steal it at the end.
Coach, talk to me about the title game, the NEC title game, because that game, when I saw the video, I don't know if anybody was going crazy. I'm sure people were, but because of the defensive play that was made, I thought that was the most impressive part, how Sacred Heart University was able to win that on a defensive play.
It was a game of emotions. It was up, it was down, it looked good, it looked bad. I mean, the change of the momentum and to go into overtime. And so I said, okay, we're in overtime now. Now we got to win it on the road in overtime. And we got the ball first. And it was 4th and 17 from like the 19-yard line. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't good because, you know, we're just out of range probably for a field goal. Actually, I think it was like the 23. So I'm like, we're just out of range for a field goal. So it's 4th and 17, you know, we got to take a shot. You know, we got to take a shot. In Marquez, Coach Gardner called the perfect play. And Marquez threw probably one of the better balls I've ever seen thrown here by a Sacred Heart quarterback. I mean, the touch, he threw a dime right to the receiver in the slot who ran a stutter and go. And he caught it in stride at the just over the defensive back shoulder and caught it, and his body just kind of brought him into the end zone. So now we're up, and we're up 6. You know, we got to kick the field or the extra point, which we've had problems with in the first quarter. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? I'm going to score a touchdown. We got to make this extra point. Women's, if we don't, and then they score a touchdown, we lose on the extra point. He makes the extra point. So now we're on defense. All we got to do is hold them to 3. Game's over, stop them. And they were driving, you know, they run quite a few plays. It was 4th down, I think 5 or 4. And they were on about the 15 or 16-yard line. And this was it. If we stop them, the game's over. Completes the first down. I think it was 4th and 4, and he got 5. So I'm like, all right, here we go. So now the quarterback's got it. You know, it's like inside. I think he's on the 6-yard line. And they ran quarterback sweep with this kid, who's a very good quarterback, by the way, and I like him a lot, Duquesne's kid. And he's running to his left going into the end zone, and he's down to about the 3, and he's got some people on him. Looks like we're going to make the tackle. It's going to be 2nd and goal from the 3. And then all of a sudden, I just look, and people are celebrating, going crazy because I couldn't see what had happened. I saw him getting tackled, and there was a big pile up. So I'm assuming he got tackled, and everybody was on top of him. And I see this scramble for the end zone, and I see all these white jerseys going crazy and everybody leaving the bench. And I'm like, oh my God, he fumbled it. I'm like, I couldn't see the fumble happen. And everybody's going crazy, and our defense is jumping on the ball. And, you know, so we're all celebrating, everybody's on the field, you know, pandemonium is going crazy. And the referees have to stop and say, you got to go back to your bench. We got to do a replay to make sure his knee wasn't down, because it was a turnover, and all of the turnovers are reviewed. So we're sitting there for like 2 minutes waiting. After we had just celebrated, I'm thinking, how am I going to put these kids back on the field after we just thought we'd won the game? And I got my administrators, the sports information director, Mike Smooths, behind me on the sidelines with his phone out. He's watching the game on ESPN3, telling me, it's good. It's good. They're not going to overturn it. They're not. You're good. And then, you know, the referee came out and said it was a fumble, and that was it. It was pandemonium again, all over again. But to end it that way on the defensive snap was quite emotional. I can tell you that.
Especially too, because you're a defensive guy. So, you know, it's almost like coming full circle in a way, because, you know, for you
full circle.
Yeah, because you're a guy who lives, breathes, eats defense. You love defense. You produced a lot of talented defensive guys. So to see your guys make a defensive play in probably at this moment, the biggest game as far as winning the title and everything, that in and of itself, it's too perfect. It's too perfect to be true.
Yeah, I would have liked them, not to convert on 4th and 5, but whatever. Made it more exciting, right?
Yeah, they wanted you to make sure you lost a little bit more hair. Like, you still got some left, right? Yeah. That's awesome, Coach. But hey, I have you for a couple more minutes. I just want to get real quick. You're playing Delaware. Now, this is the second time that you're facing them. You guys beat them 10-7 in 2014. So I'm sure you're not even, I know it's years ago and that doesn't even matter now. But as far as coaching, I mean, has anything changed for them from this year or last year 2014 to this year?
Oh yeah. They got a whole new coaching staff. I mean, let's be real. Delaware is known for football. They got a huge tradition down there, big stadium. They sell it out all the time. They've won national championships. And right now they're ranked number 6 or number 5 in the country. So they're a good football team, and they play in the CAA, which to me is probably one of the top 2 FCS conferences in the country next to the Missouri Valley. And our kids got to go down there at their home place against a good football team who's ranked number 5 in the country. And we got to see what we're made of. We got to see how we're going to come out and how we're going to react and how are we going to play. And we got to be able to step up our game and compete at this level. And I told them, I said, there's only 16 teams playing right now that are left in FCS. You're one of them. If you want to be great and you want to continue to play with big teams and better teams, you got to be able to compete against the 15th ranked team in the country. So we'll see what we're made of when we get down there at 7:00 Saturday night.
You know, Coach, I really think about this moment right now for Sacred Heart University, and because of what everybody has been dealing with the pandemic and such. And I think of how Hartford was able to do so much with the amount of publicity that they were able to have before they faced Baylor, and even giving Baylor a game in the NCAA tournament for men's basketball. I feel like this is such a moment for Sacred Heart University. This could help them, not just help you guys now, but for years to come. Squeeze as much as you can out of that tube.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy that we were able to play a spring season, and obviously the goal was to win the NEC championship, and we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful for that and very proud of the kids. But now it's the next step. You know, what's your next goal? It's always been, let's try and win the first round of a playoff game. You know, we've been in the playoffs now 3 years. We haven't won a first round playoff game yet. The NEC's only won 2 first round playoff games in 18 years. Wagner had beat Colgate years ago, and Duquesne beat Towson back, I believe, in 2018. So there's only been 2 NEC football teams that have won the first round. Why not us be the third team that's done it? You know, it's not going to be easy, and we know that. But we're prepared. Us as coaches will have the kids prepared. I think they're ready to go. I feel good about our game plan. And I feel good about the kids on my team and them, you know, doing everything they have to do to be able to play the game. Now they have to go out and execute. They can't go out there and be nervous. They got to just let it fly, let it go, and play the best of your ability. Play what we teach you to, you know, how to play and what to play. Do the responsibilities that we're asking you to do. And hopefully, like I said, we can keep this thing close and maybe steal one at the end.
Coach, I got a hashtag, why not us?
Yeah, why not us, right?
Why
we
not?
did it before. Like I said, no one gave us a shot in 2014. We went down there and, you know, things didn't work out, or, you know, things worked out in our favor at that point in time. They weren't the 5th ranked team in the country, but they were still a pretty good football team, and we weren't expected to win. So, hey, you're down to the final 16. Anything can happen, and that's why they play the game. So our kids believe in the system that we have. They believe in us as coaches, and we believe in them as players. Now we just got to kind of put it together and go out there and with a mindset Saturday night, and hopefully, like I said, our kids play their asses off and, you know, come home with a win. We'll see.
Coach, I wish you nothing but the best luck. I really do appreciate you taking. I know you've been busy, so I do appreciate the time that you were able to allow to give me to be able to come on the podcast. I will make sure that I'm listening to the game, because I'll be driving back from my broadcast. So I'll make sure I have my phone charged and I'm in my car so I can listen to the game. Seriously.
All right, 7:00 Saturday night down in Delaware.
Awesome. Coach, wish you nothing but the best of luck again.
Thanks,
and hope
Chris, I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll wrap things
Thanks
up
for having me.
For Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Remember, CD stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm on Dream to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.